Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place where we unpack complex ideas, pull out the core insights, and, well, serve them up fresh for you. Today, we're diving into a challenge that's surprisingly common. You might have even bumped into it yourself, maybe in the garden, maybe somewhere else entirely. It's this persistent puzzle of uneven growth. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Even processes we feel we control can have these hidden twists. So our focus today is that classic gardening head scratcher.
Yeah.
Why, even with the best care, do some seedlings thrive, just shoot up, while others, well, they just struggle?
Right. They just don't seem to get going at the same pace.
Exactly. And we're taking our cues from Ang's latest entry. It's called Notes on Gardening, Part 597. Just published today, actually, July 17th, 2025. Ang really gets into this ongoing battle to get, uniform growth, even when you're being super careful and consistent.
Meticulous care, as Aang puts it.
Yeah. So our mission, for you listening, is to really explore the hidden factors Ang talks about, to understand the why behind this variability. We'll use Ang's example of Torenia seedlings to make it concrete. It's definitely not just about what you see on the surface level.
No, it goes deeper.
Okay, let's dig in and see what insights we can sprout from these observations.
Well, the first thing that really jumps out from Aang's notes is how universal this problem is. It's not just one type of plant. Aang explicitly calls it a persistent challenge, regardless of the plant species.
Right, so it's not a one-off thing.
Not at all. It seems like it's baked into biological systems, Achieving perfect uniformity is, well, incredibly difficult. It seems to defy even really tight control.
That's the really maddening part, isn't it? You can do everything right, or so you think. Ang points out you can transplant seedlings meticulously. They all look the same height, size, seem perfectly healthy.
Yep, identical little soldiers lined up.
But there's zero guarantee they'll keep growing at the same rate. You give them consistent water, the perfect fertilizer schedule.
And still, you see differences emerge.
Stubborn variability, just like Ang says. It really does make you wonder what's actually happening beneath the soil line, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And Aang's specific observations on the Torenia Fournieri, they're quite revealing here. Most of them, Aang notes, they did great after transplanting. Grew to the size you'd expect.
Okay, so the majority followed the plan.
The majority, yes. But then there was this significant group, a smaller but noticeable number. Aang even documented it with pictures. They became, well, clearly susceptible to problems. Things like fungal infections.
Like damping off. That's common with seedlings.
Exactly. Damping off is a prime example. That or pest infestations finding the weaker ones. And Aang's point is, this doesn't seem like just bad luck. It's just some kind of underlying difference, a subtle weakness.
A weakness that makes those specific plants more likely to get hit by common problems, even when the overall conditions are actually pretty good.
Precisely. So it's not just random chance operating there.
Okay, so we're looking beyond just the external stuff, the water, the light. What kind of underlying differences could Aang be getting at? Is it something like inherent in the seeds or plants themselves?
That seems to be exactly what Aang is suggesting. The detailed notes imply that even within a batch that looks totally uniform, there are these tiny genetic variations or maybe microscopic physiological differences. Hard to spot.
Okay, so not visible to the naked eye necessarily.
Right. Maybe one seedling has a slightly less robust immune response just naturally. Or perhaps its root structure, even if it looks similar, is just marginally less efficient.
Less efficient at grabbing nutrients, maybe. Especially right at the start.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In those critical early days. And these tiny, almost invisible distinctions, they can compound over time. So one plant ends up being particularly vulnerable while its neighbor, under the exact same conditions, just takes off. It's that inherent biological variability really showing itself.
That's a really interesting distinction. It's not just nurture, it's also nature, even at that micro level. And Aang doesn't just stop there, right? They consider other angles too.
Always looking for other explanations.
Yeah, Aang brings up potential root ball damage during the transplanting process. That's another possible reason for unevenness.
That's a crucial point Aang makes.
And notes that these kinds of issues, the root damage effects, they tend to show up over time, not straight away.
Yes, and that observation itself is telling. When a root ball gets damaged, even slightly, it can hinder the plant's ability to take up water and nutrients effectively.
So it's like it's being starved, even if there's plenty of food and water right there in the soil.
Precisely. And the fact Aang sees these effects emerge over time suggests the initial shock wasn't necessarily fatal, but it creates this ongoing stress.
Ah, Okay, so the plant is putting energy into repairing the roots.
instead of putting energy into growing leaves and stems.
Mhm.
Exactly. So you see that lag develop.
So it's not just the moment of damage, but the lingering impact on the plant's whole system?
The downstream effects, yes.
Okay, and this leads us to what Aang does about it, this idea of constant adjustments.
Right. If you sort of zoom out and look at the bigger picture here, Aang's dedication to making these minor adjustments to improve the uniform growth where possible, that's really significant. It's basically an admission that there's no single easy fix, no magic bullet for this.
Yeah, you can't just set it and forget it, apparently.
Not if you're aiming for uniformity in a biological system.
Yeah.
Achieving even, relative consistency requires ongoing observation and these subtle targeted tweaks.
What kind of tweaks are we talking about?
Well, it could be anything from adjusting maybe the microclimate around specific struggling plants, like tiny changes in airflow,
Hmm.
or even a very slight change to the soil mix, the substrate, just for the ones that seem to be lagging based on why Aang thinks they're struggling.
So it's really responsive gardening, paying close attention.
Very responsive. It really highlights the dynamic nature of working with living things. True cultivation isn't static.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into Aang's ongoing puzzle, it's really clear that uneven seedling growth is, well, a deeply rooted challenge.
Definitely deeply rooted.
It defies even that consistent watering and fertilizing we talked about. Aang's Torenia Fournieri showed it so clearly. Some did great.
While others, yeah, they just succumb to fungus or pests, likely because of those subtle underlying weaknesses.
And we also touched on those other key factors Aang considered, like the lasting impact of root ball damage.
Much shows up later, yeah.
And that ongoing commitment, that really granular work of making minor adjustments, trying to nudge things towards more uniform growth.
That constant effort.
This whole thing, it really makes you think about variability in nature, doesn't it? Just how inherent it is.
It's the rule, not the exception.
And just how challenging it is to get anything close to perfect consistency, no matter how much you try to control the environment.
So what does this all mean for us, really, when we take a step back?
Well, I think it raises a really important question, actually. When we see unevenness, whether it's, in a garden we're tending carefully or maybe in any complex system we're trying to manage, how often are we maybe overlooking those really subtle underlying vulnerabilities or those inherent forces that are actually shaping the outcome more than we realize? Perhaps the real beauty and maybe the lesson here isn't just in striving for perfect uniformity, but maybe in understanding and responding to the unique individual needs that keep popping up.